Hello, everyone. So here we are. Here's the Emma session with our CEO Ilia Obraztsov. So thank you very much for all questions that you have submitted in our Smartlands form. We have received really many questions about Smartlands Network, about how our blockchain will work. So today we will discuss with Ilia basic pillars on how everything will be organized, and we will cover, I would say, almost every question we have received in our list, but definitely we'll go through every question that relates to the Smartlands Network. So welcome, Ilia. It's a pleasure to see you, though we are currently not in the one office, but anyways, I'm really happy to see you, and thank you for giving us some time and to answer our questions.
Hi, Yaroslava, and hello, everyone. We at Smartlands really appreciate our community and support from our community. So it was a long waiting AMA, and I want to say thank you for my many interesting questions that we will cover today.
Right. Yes. So, and I think without further ado, let's do that. So I think that we can start. With the first question. So, well, basically the question is why we are making this transition from the Stellar network to the and we are started building our Smartlands network. So what is the reason behind it? Why we have this decision of this transition?
Yeah, sure. That's a very important question. And as we already told in our light paper on the Smartlands.network website and in lots of blog posts, it was a decision that we were thinking about for almost 2 years. And there are several main reasons, and one of them is that actually Stellar Network is not so optimal to implement all the desired functionality for security tokens. Of course, the network is improving, and SCP-18 Stellar proposal that was recently activated in Stellar protocol is a step towards regulated assets, but it's still not enough to support all the desired behavior of digital shares in the network. Mm-hmm. And the second big point that is actually even bigger than these technical reasons is that we see a great opportunity window to establish actually an ecosystem, our own network designed primarily for digital securities, for digital shares, bonds, other types of assets. An ecosystem where we connect multiple financial institutions, multiple issuers, operators, oracles, KYC providers. That's a very ambitious plans, but I think it will actually pay off in the near future.
Agree, totally. And since you have mentioned that we are currently working with Cosmos, so can you give us some background on how negotiation goes, how our relationships evolve, and what are the plans?
Yes, sure. So we are constantly in talks with participants of the Cosmos ecosystem, and we appreciate lots of work that is already done by players in the Cosmos ecosystem. It's all open source, and I can say that Cosmos is one of the most developed SDKs for building the blockchains, and it's really a good technology.
Thank you. So I think that now we can move on more to the technical questions that we have received about the architecture of the network. So the first question we have received is how many validators we need to have to ensure optimal network security. So to be honest, the questions about the validators were, the most frequent ones. But anyways, please give us some background on this.
Yeah, that's really a very, very good question. But basically, from the technical perspective, we think that several dozens of validators will be already enough to maintain a decent level of the network security and network robustness. But once the ecosystem will be widely adopted, once there will be many players in the ecosystem, and in the longer run, we expect we will have a few hundreds of validators.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, yeah, we are not planning to increase this number after several hundreds validators, because it may affect the consensus.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but with regards to the validator staking, will there be any cap on how much a validator can pull together for staking from users?
No, there will be no cap, and validators will be allowed to stake as much tokens as they can. There might be security concerns, like if one validator stake more than half of the whole supply of the tokens on the network. But I can say that actually introducing a cap, maximum amount of tokens that can be staked, that doesn't actually solve the security concerns, because everybody can set up multiple validators and in total accumulate large stakes.
Mm-hmm. I see. Also, one more question. Sorry, I will read it because it's a bit, direct speech. I don't want to interfere into the logic of the question. So the question is following. Typically, how long will it take to make adjustments on the network? Like, for example, value of SLT is equal to 1.02 USD, and the transaction fee needs to be changed to under a penny from voting to updating. So how long will it take?
We expect that such type of votings will happen once per month. But there is no hard requirement on this, and every validator can initiate the voting, can make a proposal to change the fees, to change amounts of insurance deposits for oracles. Mm-hmm. And all the validators will vote on this proposal, and if major stakes will make a decision, it will be implemented. It will get implemented immediately on the network.
Mm-hmm. One more question. Will it be possible for community members to run KYC and compliance oracles?
Of course, everybody can run KYC and compliance oracles, and there is no fee for running oracles. There is only an insurance deposit that guarantee honesty of oracles, mm-hmm. But there are no fees. But the main point here is that I can say that for regular community member, there is not much sense to run KYC and compliance oracles, because usually compliance oracles we consider to be financial institutions, licensed entities who have enough regulatory permissions, in particular jurisdiction, to operate regulated businesses such as brokers, MTF exchanges, or originators for investments. And for KYC oracles, there should be actually an ability to verify identities that other ecosystem players can trust. Mm-hmm. So it's a special businesses, I can say, yeah. But there are no limits on this.
I see. By the way, you have almost covered just another question in the list. Is it free to set up an oracle on Smartlands platform? But you have basically...
Yes, it's free, and there is only insurance deposit.
Mm-hmm, right.
That is just even not a deposit. The amount will remain on Oracle account on the network, on Oracle's wallet, but will be effectively locked by the network rules and couldn't be spendable.
So but how frequent will be those payments from the network to the validators?
Yeah, there are no hard restrictions on this. Actually, the Cosmos proof of stake implementation is different from other blockchains. Mm-hmm. In other blockchains, let's say in Ethereum, the block rewards are distributed in the blocks. Like in Bitcoin, once a new block is mined, new Bitcoins are added to the supply. But in Cosmos protocol, it's implemented in different fashion. Let's say for every block, the rewards are accumulated on a special account, on a special wallet in the network. Mm-hmm. And then upon the requests from validators, they are distributed to validators according to their share in in the block rewards.
Mm-hmm.
So we expect, we are not putting hard requirement on this, but we expect that dividend distributions, inflation block rewards distributions will happen, let's say once per week.
Yeah, but it may vary, right? So it's like...
Yes, it may vary.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think it's quite explicit in terms of the validators and oracles, so we can move on with the other portion of questions we have from our community. One of the most, I would say, frequent questions that we have, it was regarding the email, the communication that we have released last week, when we said that we plan to make integrations with banks and financial institutions. So the community is asking to provide a bit more details, if we may, in terms of what those integrations will be and how it will interrelate with the Smartlands network.
Yeah, sure. It's actually an amazing use, and it's a very, very, very ambitious plans and very high level, very, very, very deep negotiations that we are now taking with multiple banks in Europe, and it's an amazing news. So yeah, of course, all these banks will be players in the Smartlands network ecosystem. They will operate oracles.
Mm-hmm.
That probably what I can say currently, and stay tuned for the updates.
Yeah, that's enough. Marketing is saying that that's enough to say.
Okay, sure.
We will release more information soon, I hope. So, but it is indeed very exciting. These news. And yeah, also we have another question. What will be our Block Explorer solution? So the request is to provide a bit more details on how it works, and where our community will be able to check the network statistics. Yeah,
actually, I can say that Block Explorer is a core component of every blockchain network, because the Block Explorer actually guarantees that the network is auditable and that network is transparent. It's main requirements for the public blockchains. Of course, we are developing the Block Explorer, and it will be released together with the network itself. So even for the testnet phase, once the testnet is live, Block Explorer will definitely be there.
But speaking about the block reward, can you please give some background on this?
Yeah, sure. So block reward is a reward for securing the network that is distributed across validators.
Mm-hmm.
And it consists of the inflation payout and all the fees that are accumulated from transactions in this particular block. I can say that lots of information about block rewards is already released on our Smartlands network website, in our white paper.
True.
So there is some very interesting read here. Yeah.
It is, and also I do also encourage everybody, if you don't find answers in this Emma session, so we have tried to provide as much as possible information about the Smartlands network, about how all the components interact and how it works on the smartlands.network website. So please feel free to go there and check the details. But if you still have some questions, you can write them on our community group on Telegram. So moving on, thanks Ilia for providing information about the block reward. And now we also have some questions, for instance, the one about the ledger. So the question is, how do we plan to make support of ledger and staking of ledger, how everything will be conducted? Are we ready to provide such details?
You mean about integration of hardware wallet to Ledgernama?
Yeah. Oh, yes, exactly.
Yeah. So Ledgernama is not honestly, Ledgernama is not a priority currently, because we need first to actually release the network. But then we all understand the importance of hardware wallet support for the security of the network, and this feature is integration will be implemented as soon as possible. And regarding the staking of the ledger, the delegation will be a separate transaction. So once user delegates the tokens, user can plug off his ledger, save it in a secure place, and earn rewards automatically.
Yeah, exactly. But again, like, we have to wait for this for sure. It's not the hot.
Yes. I can say that it wouldn't be since the beginning, since the very early launch of the mainnet, but it will be delivered pretty soon.
I agree. And one more question that we have about the, I would say, related to architecture, but this goes more to the secondary market. So the question is that in accordance with the regulation, how will trading on the bulletin board affect investors and traders? So can you please provide us more details about how bulletin board will be impacted by regulation norms?
Yes, that's very, very important question, because bulletin board allows security tokens to be tradable even when there is no licensed MTF exchange that leases the tokens. So I can say that Smartlands Network will have native support for implementing bulletin board. And the very, very exciting point is that in Liechtenstein regulations, there are no regulatory requirements for operation of the bulletin board.
Yeah.
So once the network is live, once there are tokens that can be traded on the bulletin board, Smartlands will deliver such feature.
Perfect. So I think that's it about the architecture. So we have some also questions about SLT for sure. So I will now try to, because we have received many repetitive questions, so I'll try to summarize them into some groups. So the one of the most frequent questions was about the swap. So how will the swap be conducted? Are we able to provide now some information of what will be the ratio? So and yeah, so probably you're able to provide some details on that.
Yeah, so the swap process will be pretty straightforward. We will implement special utilities. We will implement integration of the swap into the current Smartlands wallet and Stellar. And what I can say about the ratio, we don't yet have a final answer on this. We still have negotiations inside the team around the swap ratio. But what I can say for sure is that if there will be a significant changes in our mind regarding the ratio, we will conduct voting inside our Smartlands wallet.
So as far as I understood, it's like there is a possibility, right, that we will add voting to these parts.
Yeah, sure. There is a possibility that we will add voting.
Cool. That sounds really good. One more question. There is a question about if you don't mind, I will read that because it's a bit.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's a direct speech, so I just want to pass the information. So the question is following. So the Smartlands Platform Foundation will create, this is the quote from our previous claim, that we will create a dedicated account for holding SLT in an amount equal to 1% of the total value of the security tokens issued on Smartlands, guaranteeing that the same amount of SLT, which otherwise would have been held as a required fee reserve, is effectively removed from this total supply. So this is the end of the quote. So the question is, does it mean that 1% is burnt forever?
Actually, what I can say is that it is an interim solution. That was introduced when our team conducted the decision to remove the fees charged from investors within the scope of security token offering. But within the integration, within the implementation of Smartlands Network, once Smartlands Network is live, this requirement will not apply anymore, because SLT will actually become a native token. because there will be a staking, there will be a fee charged for every transaction in SLT, and we think that there will be a very decent utility for SLT token.
Yes, absolutely. And also, I think the last question about SLT was about the necessity to increase amount of SLT on the new blockchain. So, can you please comment about the inflation part?
Yes, regarding inflation, the main point, what I can say about inflation is that the primary aim of having inflation in Smartlands Network is not to increase the supply, but actually to motivate, to incentivize holders of the network to participate in securing the Smartlands Network in accumulation of the proof of stake as a guarantee that network is secure, that network will not be hijacked, and that all transactions in the network are final. That's the main requirement for financial institutions to participate in our network.
Okay. And I think that the last questions, but not the least for sure, that we have received are related to the exchanges. So the ultimate question that we are asked all the time, so when new exchanges, when we will see and how we will approach the new exchanges? Do we have probably the list of the agreement? So, like, can you please provide more details on the listing?
Yeah. So sure, that's a very interesting and very important question.
Absolutely.
But I hope our community understands well that we cannot disclose all the agreements, that we cannot disclose all the details until there is an official announcement of the listing date. This rule applies for every exchanges in the cryptocurrency market. But what I can say for sure is that our team totally understands the liquidity issue, totally understands that especially once Smartlands Network is live, new exchanges will become very mandatory thing. And I can say that we are constantly in negotiations with exchanges in order to have a decent list of centralized, both decentralized exchanges supporting the SLT token.
Absolutely agree with you. So we are working on this. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also there's one more question. So what will happen with SLT on Stellar DeX? So what's the future of the SLT there?
Yeah, the current plans. The current plan is that SLT will become actually an anchored token, an anchored asset, representing the SLT on the Cosmos protocol on the Smartlands network. So users still will be able to hold SLT tokens on the Stellar network and trade it on DEX.
So, probably I think the final question that we have from our community is about the interaction between the Smartlands network and other blockchains like Ethereum, Tezos. So, can you please provide us more background on how everything will work in terms of this?
Yeah, sure. So, we consider it as a very useful feature to have an ability to self-custody security tokens on other blockchains like Tezos and Ethereum. So special smart contracts will be implemented in these blockchains in order to allow users to store their security tokens, digital shares, in the blockchains with bigger accumulated proof of stake. That's the main point, because we understand that Tezos and Ethereum are currently will be much bigger than Smartlands network. Therefore, it adds additional security especially for major holders who owns a major percentage of digital shares in particular project. So they can withdraw asset from Smartlands network to Tezos or Ethereum and self-custody it there.
I see. So I think that I don't have extra questions in my list. So this was very insightful. Thank you very much, Ilia. And I think we have managed to tried to cover everything that we have received, every question. So thank you very much, and for your time, for your replies. And I hope that it was indeed very useful for our community. So thank you very much, Ilia, for this.
Yeah, thank you, Yaroslava, and I'd want to also say thank you to our community for the support and such a great list of very interesting questions, very deep questions.
Indeed.
And indeed, yeah. And I'd also want to encourage our community members to look on the light paper on our Smartlands.network website, because there are very useful insights how the network will operate, how the network will be interoperable with other Cosmos networks via IPC protocol. How actually the governance of assets will be implemented, compliance oracles, KYC oracles, etc.
Yes. So again, like also I do also encourage for this. And if you still have some questions, and please feel free to write in our Telegram group. And yeah, thank you again very much, everybody, for watching us. And we hope that you enjoyed. Not only it was informative, but it was also quite joyful. Thank you very much, Ilia. Again, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Take care, stay safe.